Good afternoon, and welcome to The Joy is in the Journey. I'm Gina, and I am blessed to be here with you. I am a practitioner here on this prayer team at New Thought Media Network, blessed to be in service in the morning prayers and occasionally in the evening. But I'm also the spiritual director of Greater Boston CSL, and I host the Peace Circle on Mondays and the Joy is in the Journey on Thursdays, which here we are. And the reason that we talk about joy in the journey is because we can only have it now. The whole point is, who wouldn't want more joy? Who wouldn't want more peace? These are things that we talk about like sound bites, but the truth is they can only be experienced through our awareness in the present moment. How do we do that? How do we become that change we wish to see in the world? So we talk about practical ways to experience the joy of right here and right now. Far too often we say, well, I'll be happy when this happens. Well, when I get that job, when I meet the right person, when I accomplish, when I've lost weight, when all of those things, when people act the way I want them to, if you have children, when they're in line, none of that ever is, it's not about the outside world lining up. It's about aligning from within. And we pick different topics sometimes on different weeks, but we always have different guests that come in and share perspective. And I am so excited to be here today with someone that we've had on before, but we're going to talk about, what to me is so important. And the month of November often is the month that we talk about gratitude. And this is Thursday. So next Thursday is Thanksgiving. So I have Reverend Cindy Grimes here, who is absolutely a gift. And my experience with her has been wonderful on every level. She is, she's done so much. Before her call to ministry, she worked as a social worker and child protective investigator, teacher, child and family advocate. And her work always empowered people. The common thread in all her varied work is empowerment and helping people live filled lives to become their heroes on their own life journey. She's a wife, mother, and grandmother, which rounds out her experience. And she's injecting regular doses of joy, humor, and definitely humility. She graduated the Holmes Institute in 2015, and she is ordained and presently is the spiritual director at CSL Ocala, Florida. And she is a gift. She's a focused ministry, and she's also the co-founder of Circle Up Center for Practical Peace Building. And she's going to tell us about what that is. But her focused ministry is developing and delivering programs that teach practical peace building and principles, including social, emotional learning, conflict transformation, and restorative practices for uses in schools, prisons, businesses, spiritual communities, and at home. Her vision is that New Thought communities throughout the world are known as peace builders. And to all of that, I say yes, yes, and yes. Welcome, Reverend Cindy Grimes. Thank you for being here with me today on this beautiful day, which I don't know about you, but it is 67 degrees in New England. I'm in
Florida. It's not quite that cool, but it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Today's a little overcast, but the weather is crisp and the sun is shiny and the humidity is gone and it's awesome.
Hello, shout out to Diego here. Yes, she
hey,
says,
hey. Oh, it's so great to be here. That was me. I sent a message and it went out and it looked like it came from
it comes from all of us.
It comes from all of us. Yes.
So truly a gift to have you here.
Thank you.
And on this topic.
I love this. This kind of came up quickly, right? I didn't have time to.
She had no notice whatsoever. And she was gracious enough to say yes. She rearranged her schedule to be here to talk about gratitude. You said it's one of your favorite topics.
It really is. And this is so much more fun than cleaning my bathrooms. So here I
Well,
am.
without a doubt, absolutely.
Still needs to get done, but hey, I couldn't turn this down. So here I am.
Thank you so much. We get a chance to look at things differently because when we do that, the things that we look at change. That's
Mhm.
what New Thought that absolutely teaches. And we've got all kinds of quotes and music and all kinds of fun stuff to talk about. But what is your practice? Do you have any kind of practice when it comes to gratitude? Is there
I
anything in particular that you use?
it's my thing. I just kind of practice living in gratitude. I think, I don't know, I read somewhere it's like the shortest prayer there is, or and I think so many ministers love, and I of course love spiritual mind treatment, but the quickest thing, the most effective thing, the most transformative thing for me has always been gratitude. And it's that idea of gratitude in all things, not gratitude for everything, because certainly I am not grateful for traumas and dramas that I've been through, but I was able to find things to be grateful for within those circumstances, right? That helped me move through easier. And so that's why it's my default. Something goes wrong, there's a situation that's not working. As I'm human, right? Like everybody else, you still work through the anger, the sadness, like all of that. But I orient myself to find what is there to be grateful for, or to just know that at some point I'm going to get out of this and I'm going to look back on it, you know, and be grateful that it happened for what came out of it. So,
For me, one of in those moments, I'm most grateful for the faith to know that it carries me through. I look at my faith as a life raft. That as
mhm,
long as I'm on that raft, I have hope. And
yes.
if nothing else, I know that spirit carries me in all things. And that, even just that, is enough to be grateful for. There's so many blessings. And, Louise Hay says, the universe loves grateful people. The more grateful you are, the more you get to be grateful about. It's that simple.
Mhm,
And it
yeah.
is. It's not always easy.
Mhm,
And I want to talk about that as well today. We are in a movement that we say all is well. New Thought, we're famous for all is well. And it's so important that when we're not experiencing that we don't try to shove that down people's, and it's not about saying, well, it's all good, and telling someone, well, you should be grateful.
mhm, mhm,
It's simply taking a step back and allowing ourselves to feel and transfer into something else. We don't have to stay stuck in whatever emotion we were in.
mhm.
You gave me this, I love this. Every
Yeah.
single day you make a choice. And
Yes.
they're on the same bus.
Mhm.
That's the beauty of that picture, is they're on the same bus.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of my favorite prompts for workshops. I love, to teach this stuff, and especially with people together, like to be in circle with folks. It's just so much fun. But you ask people, how many have something going on in your life right now? How many people that you could complain about? Raise your hand. And of course, everybody's hand goes up, right? I surely have things I could complain about. Okay, everybody's hands go down. How many people have something they could be grateful for? Oh, wow. Guess what? All the hands go up again. So, where you focus your attention makes a big difference in how your life experience is for you, right? If you're going to
It's
focus on
true.
what's not working and the drama and the pain and all of that, well, you're going to get more of that. And if you focus on, let me find the nugget, the something to be grateful for in this moment, that too is going to grow, right? Appreciation, the word appreciation means that it grows, right? It's, even in money, we say something appreciates, it grows.
And we get that opportunity to, what I call a checkup from the neck up. that you get that opportunity to say, I believe that emotions are our rumble strip. If
Mhm.
I am not,
I
not
love
just
that.
not in joy, if
Yeah.
I am not happy, if I'm angry, sad, resentful, anything like that, that's the rumble strip saying, go back to center. Go back to center.
Yeah.
That's my
Mhm.
rumble strip. So I
Mhm.
get the opportunity to go back to center because the
Mhm.
good stuff is always there.
Right.
And sometimes I need other people to help me with that. Sometimes I need that friend to remind me, yes,
Mhm.
and this is true. And it's
Mhm.
not minimizing, it's not saying, but you also, it's and you also.
Mhm.
And it's so important to heal from whatever it is. We were chatting about that a bit before this.
Yeah. Yeah. And we don't heal what we won't acknowledge. If you I see that as an issue a lot in our movement of that whole idea of denial, right? Like,
Spiritual
because
bypass.
the spiritual bypass, right? Because we don't want to look at the uncomfortable things, because again, where you're putting your attention, right, is going to grow. But there are some things that you can't get around them. You can't wish them away. You can't pretend they're not there. It's like, let's put the carpet over this pile of crap and sprinkle some perfume on it. It's still going to stink. It's still there, right?
And it's still going to
Figure it
be
out.
the false beliefs that hold us back from that life of joy. It's
Yes,
still there. It
it's
didn't
still
go anywhere.
there. It's still there, and it's diminishing the joy of the moment, because we have to. We can't selectively choose which emotions we're going to feel, right? Like, I'm just going to let myself feel joy. I'm not going to let myself feel anger. I'm not going to let myself feel sadness. And I don't know that we do this consciously, right? But let's face it, those anger, sadness, are not always comfortable emotions. People tend to be more comfortable in one or the other, depending on how they were raised, right?
Well, there's some people that walk around miserable all the time. My
Yeah.
husband always looks miserable. Always. It's just that's
Hmm.
his disposition. And I am the
Hmm.
complete opposite. I'm sitting here with a shirt that says joyful. So, we're night and day. And some people, like
Hmm.
you said, some people will see it and we end up offsetting each other.
Hmm.
And I don't have to go where he is.
Well,
And
here's
it's
the
not
thing.
my job to take him to where I am.
You're right, because there's going to seek to be balance, right? Everybody has anger, everybody has sadness. What's happened is that we've been domesticated, right? To put it in Don Miguel Ruiz, to behave in certain ways. So, the big broad generality I'm going to make here, it tends to be more acceptable for women to do sadness, right? Because
It's true. Yeah, men aren't supposed to
we
cry.
tend to do one or the other, right? So women can do sadness, but not men. And in the other direction, it's acceptable. It's almost expected for men to be angry and have rage, right? But don't let a woman do that,
No,
because
because
they could
then
call you,
she's
yeah,
yeah.
right. Then you get called names and whatever. So we have our places that's society has said is acceptable. So there's, maybe balance in a relationship where one person does all the anger, the other person does all the sadness, but there's not the balance in the individuals,
So it's
right?
learning how to really have joy, experience it, and be in the moment and appreciate that. What and you've worked in prisons and different programs as well. At one point, I had worked at Goodwill where we'd help people go from welfare to work, and there were a lot of people. The people that I worked with had physical, emotional, or mental problems. There were definitely
Mm-hmm.
circumstances there that there were barriers to them finding employment
Mm-hmm.
and in their experience. So there was a lot of stuff there. And a lot of it was their mental, as far as didn't believe they could, but there
Mm-hmm.
was a lot of stuff there. And,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, it was their past experience. And I
Mm-hmm.
would say, whatever stuff you had on the way in here, leave it at the door. And
Mm-hmm.
when you leave, if you want to pick it up, it'll all be there waiting for you. But while you're here, don't think about it. It's not going to do you any good. So leave all that stuff right there and then go back and get it, so be here thinking about you, taking care of you in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
And we would do a meditation to get into it, and they were able to come into present moment. So you can do both. You can address an issue when you need to address an issue, and you can be present. It's not about faking and being unhappy, or it's not about pretending to be something different, but it's realizing that the family stuff is the family stuff. I don't know about you, but many times in my life I used to go to work for the relief of it. Especially if you have little ones at home, sometimes it's easier to be at work, depending upon, especially teenage years, etc. There's a lot of stuff that happens where at work I can focus on work. And sometimes we need that break, but we can do that in a more positive way, depending upon what our tools are. And we never need to pick it back up again. That's the trick.
I think there's time for all of it.
Yes.
I think things will continue to come up in our awareness, continue to come up in our experience until we confront them, right?
Yes.
Every time it comes up, it's an opportunity to really look at it. And instead of going the other way, doing the denial thing, to say, no, I'm staring you down. I see you, right? I know who you are. I've been here before, and I know how to move through,
And
right?
the through is the tricky part, because
That's
we
the
can't
tricky
get
part.
stuck. So
That's the tricky
that's
part.
so through the class, that's what we were trying, that's what we were giving as tools, how to move through. But if you're stuck and you want to hold on to it and all you want to think about and tell me about is all the reasons you can't, it's never going to work. But if you
And,
can actually be present and work through, amazing things can happen.
and this is where it's helpful to have a facilitator, a mentor, someone, a practitioner, a minister, someone who can listen, that can hear the story, that can hear the pain, that can allow the space for the healing to happen. Because when people feel heard, when they're acknowledged, they can, and they feel that compassion, they can see their wholeness, they can come back into wholeness.
The word for me that I really love is honor. Honor
Mm-hmm.
your path, honor your pain, your trauma, your experience, and honor the possibility. And when
Mm-hmm.
someone can honor it with you, it
Mm-hmm.
almost gives us, for me, I've noticed it's given me, it's almost like I get the approval. If someone else comments on it or acknowledges it, then it's real. It's almost, there's been times in my life as if I didn't allow myself to feel those things because, well, it can't be that bad. Every other people have it worse.
We all go through that, Yeah, that's part of it's part of what allows it to perpetuate, right? It allows it to stay in place because everybody's going through it, right? In some form or fashion. And we minimize our own pain. We talked about ACEs last time I was here, I'm pretty sure, right? We talked about adverse childhood experiences.
Yes.
And so just quick, refresh for anybody who may not have heard that before. There are things that people experience in childhood that leave a mark, right? Like, there's been lots and lots of research on it. And by leave a mark, they're adverse experiences that we then mold our behavior around, right? Because we need to survive. So I'm talking about things like physical abuse, right? If your parents, your caregivers hit you as a form of discipline, they may have loved you very much. You may have loved them and still love them very much. It's still abuse, right? Physical hitting. And there's going to be people who are like, no, no, I'm just telling you. Okay, this is what the science says. So physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, right? Now these things could have happened to you one time or they could have happened, many times. It's still just one point. If your parents divorced, if there was someone with mental illness in your home, if someone was incarcerated, if there was neglect, all those things are a point. And of course, the more points you have, the more dysfunction there is in life going forward, and the more physical illnesses. It correlates with everything. So
And it's important to know that wherever your starting point was, that's all it is.
exactly,
Because
it's just information.
it's about healing through it. And
Mhm,
I don't know that the word is stronger. I used to use the term that which doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I truly believed that for years of my life. So my mother, father, and sister were stage 4 cancer in a year.
mhm,
And I realized it didn't make me stronger. If anything, it felt like it thinned me out a little bit.
mhm.
I wasn't the same person after that.
Yeah.
And I also am more filled with compassion. I'm a better
Mhm.
teacher.
Right,
I'll be a better minister because of
right.
it. Who
Mhm.
I am grew in the toughest, darkest times of my life.
You're absolutely
There's
right.
there's depth that it gives. It gives a deeper understanding and ability to help others. And when we
Mhm.
talk about gratitude, you get to choose, we each get to choose which set of eyes are we looking at. Because
Yeah.
if I look at it as, well, look at what happened to me in
Mhm.
a victim mode,
Right.
which, it may have, it did happen. But if I live in that victim role, I'm depleted.
Well, see here, and here's what where the switch is, because I lived in the victim mode for years. My ACE score is a 4. Your highest score you can get in ACEs is 10, and that is a world of hurt. The real like super dysfunction starts to happen around 4. Like, aces of 4 or more. Not that it needs to be any kind of competitive thing, right? You can have one of those things. You could have things that were not on the ace scale when they came up with it that were very traumatizing to you. Not to diminish anybody's pain, right? Pain is pain. But here was where it changed my life, my whole outlook on myself. Was all of a sudden I wasn't so unique. All of a sudden it wasn't that I was broken, it was that some shit happened to me. Things happened. And you know what? The fact that I didn't inject drugs into my arms, right, to cope, or that I didn't end up in prison, or so many other things that could have happened, it was like, ah, you go, girl. And you know what? Gratitude. So much gratitude for
Yes.
the people that helped me along my path so I didn't have to end up that way. Right? So it's
It's all
not
tools.
victimization. It's not about being a victim. It's about owning the story, owning what's yours, and saying, how do I move forward from here?
It's always now what? So
Hmm.
now what how do I use this? Because I've always said whatever I've been through allows me to help other people better. If not, it was
Yes,
for
girl.
nothing. If not, it
Exactly.
was for nothing. So my sister transitioned
Hmm.
almost 15 years ago, and it was devastating. It was my best friend, my only sibling, and I miss her every day. And I have a unique place of understanding grief because my mom went into a depression, and there was so much
Hmm.
other stuff that went on along around that. I have an understanding of life that's different than anybody else because of it. And
Hmm.
I always said, but if I don't use that, then it was for nothing. Then I did it for nothing. And
Right.
that's what we get to do when we're grateful. We get to change those perspectives. How many people can we help by having this conversation that they didn't realize they had a voice that could ask for help, that they had something within them to offer others because they did not just survive, but thrive?
Exactly. That's
You know,
exactly right.
whenever I hear people talk about being cancer survivors, I turned that around. I'm not a survivor, I'm a thriver.
Hmm.
Did I have the experience of? Yes, but I thrive. I don't just
Hmm.
exist.
Yeah.
So it's everything is the perspective you bring it in, and words have power.
Yeah. And something else I'll say, even to even go beyond cancer thriving, whether you call yourself survivor or thriver, how about not even having the reference to cancer anymore at all? Like, that isn't even a reference point in my
I
life
don't
anymore,
even think, yeah,
right? Right?
I don't
Like,
need but it's all the perspective that we put into it.
mhm,
To what do we, I remember when I was diagnosed, I was so shocked, and everybody in my life was like, "Why are you so surprised?" Because I had been steeped in these teachings for years. I was
mhm,
absolutely shocked, and then I understood that I spent as a caretaker for my mother, father, sister. I
Mhm.
spent a decade taking care of everybody else. And
Mhm.
as a result, in my kidneys, which is where Eastern medicine says you hold grief,
Mhm.
that's what happened. That
Yeah.
grief stayed there because I was
Mhm.
taken care of and putting on that brave face and saying, "Oh, it's okay." And in
Right.
that survival mode, because I had to for a long time, you
Sure. Mhm.
until you don't have to.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes the things you need to do to survive don't serve you in a thriving mode. Right.
And you can't know until you know.
Mhm.
You know, life itself is the classroom.
Well,
You
life is always changing, you know, it's
It
always change.
is.
I just read something the other day, the short of it version of it is that God is change. God is change. If you think about everything, that is the one constant. The one constant is change. Life is ever changing. It's ever evolving. So is that God, you know? God is the change? Huh? I don't know. I thought it was intriguing to me. I thought of the idea of
Everything,
God.
nothing stays the same.
Yeah,
Nothing
I've
in
thought of
nature.
God as so many other things, but to think of like God as change. That's
It's a constant evolution.
mhm.
It's a constant bringing forth of. Wayne says, "God bless lighthearted souls." Absolutely. So, I want to just you'd given me this quote from the Reverend Dr. Ernest Holmes. A power greater than you are has put you here. You are one with life because you represent life. You are one with the infinite intelligence because you can think and reason, have the capacity to choose. You are a creation of divine mind and therefore a child of God.
Mhm. Something to be grateful for.
And when we really take that in, there's so much depth to that. There's a gift in that knowing. You know, one of the mantras that I have, and Reverend Dr. Ian Taylor was my first minister that for most of my classes before ministerial school and also practitioner studies. And to me, one of the things he would say often is, and I took from that, just I made it smaller with God in me, as me, is me. God in
Mhm.
me, as me, is me. And
Mhm.
when I am feeling the rumble strip, when I am feeling anything but that divine child, I often will go back to that mantra because it reminds me of who and what I really am and
Mhm.
whose I am.
Mhm. Yeah. And I want to just, I'm feeling something else here with that I think because of the conversation we've just had, right, about ACEs, about the adverse childhood experiences, that there are a lot of people walking around who, when they think of parent, you know, they think of God as parent, as father, mother, whatever. It's not
Yes,
a pleasant connotation,
correct.
right? Right. So I think I just want to say, let it be what that ideal is for you, right? If your association of father is not a good one and you can't bring, you know, don't think of it as father. Think of it as
The
what
universe.
as the unit, right, is what you would want from, you know, from the beloved. The beloved. That's it.
I think of when I think of spirit, I think of that perfect, loving, nurturing. Whether you think of the divine feminine, whatever it is you think of, but the bottom line is, it's that without an ego. It's pure love. It's like stepping into pure love. There's nothing else. There is no other side to it, just pure love.
Mhm.
When we think of how much we love the children in our lives, no matter what they do, might
Right.
drive you crazy, but you still love them. Your
Yeah.
beingness, your grandchildren, you hold them and it's like they hug you and like everything else melts away. Like there's a
So break it down. How would you describe love without using the word love?
pure joy. It's an intimacy. It lightens everything. It's, what came to me, I love blowing bubbles. It's like blowing bubbles. It's like it's a lightness. It's an easy hug that just
Mhm.
envelops and makes everything okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Nice.
you?
Yeah, I think that idea of unconditional positive regard, like you said, like there's nothing that that person could do or say or be that is going to make me not love them, right? Like my grandbabies, it just there's nothing. There's nothing. That
and
total like
and we
accept.
have egos.
Mhm.
Imagine spirit that doesn't, that
Mhm.
is just that
Mhm.
absolute, to the, and it's a gift when we think of
Mhm.
it that way.
Yeah.
And when it comes to Thanksgiving, there's a lot of people that don't have that feeling
Mhm.
around it,
That's right.
of what it used to be. And I my mom's favorite holiday was always Thanksgiving. My mother was we didn't have I didn't know it growing up, but we didn't have a lot. We didn't have the extras, really, but I
Mhm.
never really knew it. I was still overly blessed. We grew up in
Mhm.
a city. I didn't know it. My mother invited everyone. We'd have 35
Mhm.
people,
Mhm.
over for Thanksgiving in two rooms on the
Yeah.
third floor of a tenement, and Thanksgiving is her holiday, and she transitioned last year.
Hmm.
So through
Aw.
COVID, where we couldn't have a ceremony, there were so many things, and there was a lot of loss last year. And I wrote a
Mhm.
poem that I'd like to share with everyone, and it's
Mhm.
called "Giving Thanks." And I wrote it in 2020 because there's more to it than just, well, let's be thankful. It's
Mhm.
just it's a day to eat turkey. It's not just a day to say thank you. There's more
Mhm.
to it. So I'm gonna, if you'll indulge me,
Please do. Mhm.
giving thanks. There's no better time to recognize the grace of divine. There's so much to bless, bountiful dining, and especially guests. There are traditions, family, health, wealth, and life itself. So many memories we create for ourselves. Yet at this time, I pause and pray for all that may not see it this way. There are those who are lonely, and some with little to eat. There are those missing loved ones for whom memories loom deep. There is more to the story than the name of this day. There's a distance between us, circumstances keeping us away. So I ask myself the meaning of it all. In truth, life itself is the greatest gift of all, and this time apart brings greater appreciation for it all. It may be different this year, and for some extremely tough. It is important to honor and remember nothing's ever truly lost. Divine guides, loves, and leads me home, which in oneness is wherever I may go. So today I choose to look within, to celebrate oneness, my strength, and power from Him. I choose to remember those that have come before, and that some will celebrate while others are not up for. I reach out with love to those I cannot see, and my heart is open, for love heals everything. I remember to love and honor myself too. I'm grateful for the strength to get through this too. There's no blocking divine's light within me. When I remember to go within, I'm realigned and set free. I hold and speak truth regardless of what I may see. I know spirit is eternal, internal, and absolute, and my connection is pure divinity. I'm thankful to remember and celebrate this day, for in truth the beloved carries and cares for me and all today, always loving, guiding, and providing in every way. I'm so grateful for this reminder today. Often the best thing to do is pause and pray.
Mm. Beautiful. Beautiful. You have a gift with words.
Thank
Mhm.
you.
Mhm. Mm-hmm.
And it's so important to remember that not everyone feels joy and gratitude,
Sure.
e- even, at the holidays. And you can't understand that until you do. Again, until you've lost someone, you don't really understand grief. You
Yeah.
have empathy for someone, and yes, you care, but
Mm-hmm.
until you've really lost someone or something close to you, sometimes people can't grasp it.
Yeah, and what makes it hard, I think, is that everybody thinks they're alone or they feel alone in their grief. And you see the trappings, you see other people's Facebook posts, and you hear their stories about their wonderful lives, and you're going, "What the heck is wrong with me?" Right? Why do I not have the happy family, right? Why don't I love my relatives? And why doesn't my family cook? Or whatever your thing is,
Yeah.
and people feel alone in that. So yeah, yeah,
That's
so
why we're
holidays
here
are tough.
talking
Mhm.
about what all of it, because you're
To
never alone.
normalize it, to let people know, man, you're not alone. There are lots of people that are going through it, and COVID really um, has been, I don't know, my friends calls it the great pause for her, Mary Ellen, the great pause. And that's what it has been. And it's a time of transition, and transitions can be rough. They can be brutal.
Yes.
And they can be beautiful too. I mean, it's just whatever is coming up in the moment. My my take on it is just feel what's there. Feel what's there, don't stay, we're not here to stay in any of it for too long. Good, bad, indifferent, whatever is up for you, what's in front of you is like, what, look at it and just move on through, you know
Yes, and we get a choice to be able to. And I want to put put out there, spiritual community can definitely help with that.
yes.
The To me, the greatest gift of new thought is when we come together. My
Hmm.
experience of spiritual community is that love, that unconditional love of, I don't care where you came from. You don't have to be something different. Just
Yeah.
be authentically you, and you'll love that. I'm loved just for showing up.
Yeah.
That's the gift of, there's no have to's, there's no guilt, there's no shame. In my experience of true spiritual community, we get an opportunity to walk in as the
Hmm.
perfect individualization of spirit and are
Yeah.
welcomed that way.
It's my family of choice. I
Yes.
mean, I have my family, and their family members. I love all of them. I
Yes.
don't like them all. you know I don't. That's just being honest, right? There, if I have a choice and my time, I want to make the most of my time. Sometimes I'm going to choose to spend time with people who are not my family, my blood family, because it's not good time for any of us. Sometimes those relationships are toxic. So, find your family. If your family, your birth family, isn't your people,
Find your tribe.
find your tribe. Find your tribe, your spiritual community, that place where you can be seen and loved and appreciated exactly the way you are. That's just one of the things I love about this community,
And
right?
it truly is a gift. And I would
Hmm.
encourage people, there's a lot of communities that are doing things online now. So if look
Hmm.
and see as if there's one in your area. CSL, Centers for Spiritual Living, csl.org, will tell you what's around. But there's also on this network on Sundays. Are you replayed on? Are you here on
Yeah, yeah,
Sundays?
we're on
What time are
Sundays.
you? What time are
I'm
you
on
here?
at 3 o'clock on Sundays.
3 o'clock on the East Coast, right?
Yep, 3 o'clock
We're
East
in
Coast time.
Boston's now at 5 o'clock on the East Coast.
How
I
about
want to say there's
that?
five different centers that are played here, and these are
Hmm.
centers that have both. All of our workshops are now virtual, and we do the
Hmm.
hybrid. So our workshops, our fellowship, everything is virtual. So
Hmm.
people can participate all over the world. And
Exactly.
it's so important to become part of like-minded individuals, and you don't have to
Hmm.
be in the presence of them physically to be in the
Hmm.
presence. We know there's only one. So
Hmm.
one of the gifts and gratitudes in my life is that we are now reaching further
Yeah.
and going deeper and have this
Hmm.
opportunity to reach people where they are instead of where just we are. We're
Mm-hmm.
now opening up this network, New Thought Media Network, which is just a gift. Prays every morning and every evening. If you have prayer requests, you can go to, you can send it's prayer at
Mm-hmm.
ntmedia.org. And there are practitioners and ministers that are
Mm-hmm.
here to know your truth and be here and know, your highest.
Yeah.
So it's about using the tools that you get as well.
Yeah. And hybrid communities, right? Like you said, Gina, if you find somebody you align with online, that's awesome. But if there's an actual like physical place that you can go and be with people in person, do that too.
There's no limit.
There's
There's
no
so
limit,
much.
right? There's no
There's
limit.
even just this network. There's at this point, there's I want to say 20, 25 shows that are going on that
Yeah.
people have the opportunity to watch anytime. So there's always positive stuff out there. It's a question of, are we looking for it? Are we using it? And
Yeah.
on that, I am going to show, because I love this. I watched it for a second time this week. It
Thank
was this past Saturday was International World Kindness Day.
you.
So on that theme, I just want to say this is Reverend Cindy's. This is her kindness YouTube. On YouTube, it's your TED Talk,
Yes.
and this is the link for it. But if you put in her name and on YouTube, it comes right up on. And it is wonderful. I think it's about 18 minutes long. So
It is,
but
yeah. I
it
was like
is,
right there on the edge. I
but it
thought
was,
they were going to edit it and they didn't, and I was right at 18 minutes, which was like the cutoff. I almost didn't make the time.
it was fabulous. And
Thank you.
it's timeless. Kindness, when we do kind things for others, it gives us an opportunity to receive.
Mhm. Yes. Yes, yes.
Which way do you want to look? Which way, what are you doing? By thinking, you are either adding to your good or taking away from it. That's Eric
Wow.
Butterworth.
Right.
And a point that you made on this, and I really appreciate, is how do we expand our sense of deserving?
Mm. Mm.
So what does that mean to you?
How do we expand our sense of what do I know? How do I open myself up, right? For deserving, for knowing. I mean, we're already deserving. That's the whole thing, right? Is that we are already deserving because we are part of the one that created us. So like to get our own selves out of the way, right? Is to be in gratitude, like for life, for life, sometimes the moments when you have to dig really deep, like when you're not feeling it, those are the moments you most need to find it. And it becomes like the life raft, right?
Yeah.
That gratitude becomes your life raft. And that is what it expands your sense of, again, not that you are deserving, but it opens you up to it.
We get a choice at any given moment. And you know, not all of us are raised and told that we're worthy.
Mm-hmm.
I know I was raised to be a caretaker. That was my role growing up in every way. I was the caretaker. And I carried that into adulthood. So I was taught it as a child, but as an adult, I have to own that I continued and perpetuated it. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that victim mentality, well, when I was a kid, this happened. And
Mm-hmm.
as an adult, I continued to make relationships and I continued to carry that forth because
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it any differently. When I
Mm-hmm.
knew differently, I could do differently. And
Right.
we were chatting a little bit about that. Sometimes people don't want to bring things up that are negative, quote unquote. But until we have that awareness, we can't change the patterns that don't suit us. So we keep
Right.
taking that Dixie cup to the ocean and
Mm-hmm.
wondering why we're not receiving more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the things is that we learn in New Thought is how, it's change your thinking, change your life. So I call it being a spin doctor, right? Look at whatever the situation is, find that nugget, right? Find that thing that you can be grateful for. Even, you learned something from it, right? It might have been an awful situation, but, like you said, having a tough childhood, that has given me tremendous compassion, and it's a double-edged sword, right? Because you feel everything so much.
There's plenty I wish I never knew.
Yeah,
There's so
right?
much that I know now that I wish I never knew.
Yeah,
And
yes.
you
And
can't take that back. You get a choice of how you
mhm,
deal with it. I can't,
mhm,
there is no redo. There is
yeah,
no retake on any given day, let
yeah.
alone life. So what do I
But
do with it?
find the thing, find that thing, right? Find and it what you appreciate appreciates, right? So I got
Absolutely.
compassion out of my experience that has expanded me as a person that now I teach this stuff. Like I can't even really express, you see me now, this is what like what I do for a living and how you know me. But to have known me 20 years ago, when I was hiding away, when I wouldn't be in front of a camera, when I didn't want people looking at me, when I wouldn't speak, when I wouldn't use my voice, it's like incredible, incredible.
For me, I was actually doing peer leadership, and I was giving workshops and trainings to hundreds of people at 14, 15. And then I stopped for a long time right after college, and I said, who wants to hear me? What
Mm,
do I have to offer? I
mhm,
did it for 10 years and had a wonderful like experience of it. And then I thought, well, like now I need to get a real job, and I don't have it all together. So who would want to hear me?
mhm, mhm,
I gave away my voice, and I suffered. Because
mhm,
if we're not speaking, if we're not living, there's suffering in that.
mhm.
We're always becoming, that's not a question. But when we don't use our gifts,
Right.
life feels small. That's when it turns, I hate the saying, same crap, different day.
Mhm,
When people say that to me as a life coach, as a practitioner, as all of these, I'm like, oh, the inside, there's so much more. My
mhm,
answer is always the best is yet to come. I don't care what happened in the past. The best is yet to come, and that is living in gratitude. It's
mhm,
knowing that, no matter what, okay, and now what? And now what? It's like a little kid. And now what are we going to do? Well, you just did this, this, and this. Okay, but what are we doing now?
mhm,
That's
mhm,
how we want to walk through life, is being in that explorer mode of now what?
mhm,
Enthusiastically living life as spirit. Because
mhm,
spirit will provide for that, but we have to, that's up to us.
mhm,
We're the inlet, but we are
mhm,
also the outlet.
mhm.
How much are we doing that?
Yeah. Yeah. It takes courage. It takes courage because you can't be selective, right? So you're going to let some of it in. It's all there. That means you get to feel all of it. You get to feel the
Yes.
anger, and you get to feel the sadness, and you get to feel the joy and the peace and the oneness and the anger, like all of it. It's like just life living at the edge.
And sometimes it feels great, and sometimes it
Mhm.
doesn't. And
Mhm.
and that's okay too. A feeling is
Yeah,
not
of course,
a
because it
feeling is a feeling. You live through feelings.
it moves. It
It
it moves.
flows.
Yeah, it's like it's change, right? I mean,
Even grief.
emotion.
Even
Emotion.
grief.
Yes. Emotion is energy in motion.
I like that.
What it
I
is,
like
right?
that.
Energy in motion. So, my grandkids, they have a hissy fit, I don't know, I wanted chocolate milk, the chocolate milk's gone. So like have an anger fit. And it takes 2 minutes and then it's gone, and then we're on to something else, or the tears or whatever it is, they just move through it.
I
But
I
we're the ones, we stop it up. We go like,
yes.
oh no, I can't. Imagine a kid saying, I can't let you see me ugly cry. I mean, it's like
Oh, just me. I cry at everything. I mean, a commercial. I'm a saw anything. The waterworks are always there, and
yeah.
it's just my emotions run deep, and
Hmm.
that's just the way I am not a poker player. Trust me, you do not want to play cards unless
Hmm.
you're against me, because then you'd win, because you know exactly what I have.
Right.
I, you know, I think of it for me, I like the analogy of being in the ocean. If you're in the ocean and a wave is coming, and you try to stand up to that wave, it's
Hmm.
going to knock you over. The wave is
Right.
more powerful. It's just that simple. But
Right.
if you jump just a little bit and you give and flow with it, you come right back down. Like all you have to
Hmm.
do is just jump as the wave comes.
Yeah.
You go right back down to where you were. You
Hmm.
flow with the wave. You allow the water, you allow it to flow. And when
Hmm.
we're in that flow,
Hmm.
that's where the good comes.
Yeah.
That's where the good comes.
Yep. Yep.
So
I
tell me
love
about this
this.
one.
Thanksgiving is not just a reactionary emotion, it is a causative energy. Yeah, so I think most of us think as Thanksgiving as a reaction. You did something nice for me, I say thank you, right? I give thanks. But here's the thing, and here's what we know about prayer, right? And treatment is that we imagine the thing, right? That it is that we want to experience, that we want to have, that we want to do, to be, like all of that. And your mind doesn't know the difference between something it has imagined and something it is actually going through. So you can, in your mind, imagine what it is that you want to experience and give thanks for that thing, and it is going to bring it to you, right? It becomes a causative agent because you know that it's already in motion, it's already here. It's like the quantum wave collapses and the thing happens.
It's so important to remember because worrying about, especially if you have teenagers, if you have kids, worrying only causes like trouble. Like it, stay out of the fear and into the faith.
Hmm.
Fear
Hmm.
and faith can't be in the same place at the same time.
Right.
So when I'm in fear, I'm trying to micromanage God. That's how I look at
Hmm.
it. And
Hmm.
that's never a good thing. You know,
Yeah.
we treat and we release, letting the law be the doer,
Yeah.
letting it be easy. If we're in
Hmm.
worry, distress, we just took it all back. We
Yeah.
just dug up the seed we just planted. Said, "Is it done
Mhm.
yet? Is it done yet?" We've just done taken away the work that we did.
You give thanks and you let it go. And then you really have to let it go.
Yes.
Because sometimes you're just so sure that thing is going to happen and it doesn't. And you're like, wow, that's messed up, but Spirit had another plan for you.
This or better. That's why
This
we
or
keep.
sense. So we always say,
That's our
right?
back. That's our backup. This or better.
This,
This or
this or
better.
something. And thank you for, thank you, Spirit. Thank you, life, for knowing, for bringing me what's best for me, you know? Yeah, another great. I love this slide too. Gratitude in good times maintains the status quo, right? Like it's just the right thing. It's the polite thing to be grateful for the things that you have and for what people give you. But gratitude in difficult times, that's like that creative force. It's evolutionary, right? It's going to take you to another place. Like,
And it
the
does
moment
that.
it does that, right? Like when it's so bad and you can't find that thing to be grateful for, and you finally, like, I know that I'm going to be grateful for this at some point. Like I'm grateful that Spirit is going to reveal to me the benefit of this situation. And it evolves you to
Yep.
that. Yep.
You I love this quote from Melody Beatty that she says, "Gratitude turns what we have into enough."
Hmm.
So regardless of whether I got the thing I think I wanted or not,
Hmm.
when I look at when I look at all I do have, and the thing I looked, it changes.
Hmm.
That one thing isn't going to make or break my life. We're in a society of bigger, better, faster, more. We are always in that place of wanting, as
Yeah.
opposed to turning that on around into the appreciation of what is.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful practice in the morning is just
Hmm.
that, is
Hmm.
gratitude. To write things that you're grateful for. Start the day in that
Start the
place.
day.
It's one
Yeah,
of our
and make it
tools.
something different. Every day it's something different. 2 or 3 things you're grateful for every day. It'll change your life. Absolutely change your life.
I know people that are that are doing a challenge for the month of November. 10 things you're grateful for every day, and
Yeah.
they have to be
Mhm.
different things.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it is challenging, but like I said, it'll change your life. We're so
it
full of.
truly does. It's
Mhm.
amazing the gift that it is,
Mm.
and we get to look at all of this in a way that it is changing our lives. It is knowing that we are the drivers and
Mhm.
we are the authors. We've got the pen in our hands. What are we doing with it?
Right.
And how we are living, what we're thinking about, what we're focusing up on, even spending time talking about gratitude.
Right. So
And
when the pen in your hand, I just had this thought, this image. When the pen in your hand is filled with the ink of gratitude, right? What do you create? Versus,
nothing
like,
but
thinking
beauty.
back to that picture from the beginning, and when the ink of your pen is full of resentment or anger or complaint, like what you create with that, right?
It's so true.
Mm-hmm.
So it's reminding ourselves of that, and that's why we do shows like this. That's why people watch, why we watch them. I'm sure you watch a ton of different types of things. Are there any people in particular that you love to go to when you're not in the right frame? What do you listen to? What do
Oh
you
my goodness. My world is expanding exponentially, and I'm doing a lot of reading of people that are really not even new thought, but are peace activists, especially like Black queer feminist, yeah, activists. It's I just got turned on to this idea of pleasure activism, which is really kind of what we're talking about, right? Is orienting yourself to the joy of life and giving yourself permission to, to love, to really love life, without those limitations, right? Of what we could,
absolutely?
should, or what we were, brought up and molded, to be. Like, it's totally breaking out of that and owning our capacity for joy. So that's my latest kick. I'm always reading something new, different. But yeah.
And I always encourage people to have different playlists. Whatever
Hmm.
mood you're in, if you're not feeling that place, put together a gratitude playlist. Put together a list that's going to take you out of where you are and take you where you want to go. Remind you to
Absolutely.
the truth of what life is so that you're not distracted by what's in front of you. You're reminded of what's inside you.
Mm, nice,
So
nice.
music definitely helps with that. And
Yes.
I had all kinds of things to it's hard to believe, but the hour is over. It's amazing how fast things go. So I'm so grateful that you spent this hour with us. Thank you for being here. I truly appreciate it. I'm grateful for every circumstance, knowing that my good is ever expanding. I figure we'll end on that, in on that note of affirmation, grateful in every circumstance, knowing that my good is ever expanding.
Mm, love that. I love that. Thank you so much for having me and for getting me in the frame of mind for the upcoming holiday, and just giving me an opportunity to talk about gratitude and emotions, and my jam.
Well, you are a gift, and I thank you. And I know there's a lot more coming up that you've got coming up for in your world that you're going to be sharing with us. So I know you're going to come back and talk about that.
I will.
And
I'd be glad to.
this is a way to get a hold of me, and you can reach out to me, whether it's on Facebook or you can email me, gina@cslboston.org, and know that if there's any questions, I can get them to Reverend Cindy and we will get them answered for you. So know that whenever you're watching this, we can get you whatever answers you need. And I encourage you, just keep watching, and like I said, there's Sunday messages. You can go to ntmedia.org and find out what the schedule is, but also know that this platform is here because of people just like you. So I encourage people to, whether it's a one-time donation or a monthly donation, we are a 501(c), so it is a tax deductible donation. Know that we are here because of, and we're spreading the good word, and we are grateful for all of you out there. So thank you so much. And thank you, Reverend Cindy, for your kindness and generosity on short notice. I
And
love you, and I'm grateful that you shared this hour. Any final words for everyone?
gratitude for you, Gina, for the work that you're doing, and for New Thought Media Network, and just for your bright, beautiful light, who you are in this world.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
And I wish everyone an absolutely amazing Thanksgiving,
Mhm.
knowing the blessings of what it truly means. It's not the outer stuff, that we go into that center and know the truth, remembering who and whose we are, and that anything and everything is possible. So, blessings and love. Namaste.
Namaste.